Did he have another job before he became a market gardener, do you know?
Oh, he was a blacksmith with his father. And
Yeah.
his father was a blacksmith, and they all learned to trade.
Mm.
His father used to make us hoops, you know, the old iron hoop with a metal thing to make it go. Yeah.
Did he do casual or part-time work when he was married to your mum? Do you know? Besides being a market gardener.
No, I don't think so. Well, everybody used to help, you know, in the fields and on the farms and local farms, and it was all farms around us.
Oh,
I mean, there was at least 4 farms in the locality, you know, just within a mile radius.
And what you're saying is that all the workers from each farm used to go to...
Yeah, and yes, you know, and like, they'd come and help you if it was potato picking
I know
time.
what you mean now. Yeah.
And then, if there was a pig being killed or something, a lot of the men would go and help in the pig killing, and then you'd get some meat then in return for helping with the pig killing.
Oh. Do you remember your father ever being out of work? This is when you were actually at home.
No, because he only became too ill to work after I left home at 15.
How old was your mother when you were born?
32.
How old was she when she died?
36.
And when was that?
1939.
Had she any jobs before she was married?
She was in service, as they refer to it.
And how long was she in service for?
From the time she was 14 years old until she married my father, and she married my father in 1929.
Did she work after she was married? I mean, your real mother now.
Oh no.
No. What hours did she work? Oh no, she didn't, did she? So you were 4 when she
Died, yes.
And how old was your stepmother when she married your father? Or don't you know?
Well, my mum was 36 when she died, and she was a year younger, wasn't she? So she'd been 35 when she married my father.
And how long after your mum's death did they get married?
About 5 months.
5 months. And why was that? I mean...
Because in those days, if you lost your mother and you didn't have anybody to look after you, you were put into a home. You had to have somebody to look after you.
And she was your mother's...
She was my mother's sister.
Yeah.
And as we only had a small 2-room cottage, like a little back room, kitchen there, that's supposed to be, you had to get married. I mean, there was no other way you could do it, because we all slept in one room and lived in another room.
Yeah. Had she had any jobs before she got married?
Well, she was in service too.
She was in service. Did she work after she was married? I mean...
She went to work. Before I left school she went to work. About 2 years before I left school she went to work in the hospital as a domestic.
Auxiliary.
No, as domestic help, you know, cleaning the nurse's home and things like that, and wards.
And who looked after you? Who did you look after?
Well, I was old enough. I was 12, and my brother was we were both in school, and she was home. She used to come home by 4:30.
Right. Can you describe the house in which you lived?
It was a 2-room cottage with a sort of back back kitchen of the sort. But it wasn't a kitchen really, it was just like a place where you could keep your, what they used to call them, a safe. It was where you kept your food instead of, in those days, instead of having a fridge, you used to have a safe, as they call it. You know, and you could put your tub for your washing and everything up there. See?
Oh, yeah.
And at the side then there was a shed, a big shed, and then a small shed.
Yeah.
And in the back garden then there was an old stable and a pigsty. Well, we used to keep the chickens in this pigsty, and at one time we had a donkey in the stable.
Mm. And what sort of furniture do you have in your house? It was very sparse.
Well, it was an old Welsh dresser, a skew, a big cupboard, an old cupboard that was a wardrobe. You used to keep your clothes, and that was in the living room. And a table for your, you know, your food with 4 chairs. Scrub top table, of course, you know. And 2, what we used to call then comfortable chairs, but you now would laugh. It's the old hard chairs with the cushion on the seats, you know, with arms on it. They were all hard. Nowadays you wouldn't say it was a comfortable chair, but that was what I was on. And another table which the old radio was on, you know, with the accumulators and the batteries and everything that used to run them. Old-fashioned radio.
And then you had a fire.
And a fire with an oven attached, you know. With
like a raven.
Oh no, nothing like a raven. It was an open fire.
Oh, yeah.
An open fire with used to boil your saucepans on the open fire, but there was an oven on the side of it that you could cook, roast in, you see, and you could put the kettle on there to keep warm.
And I was going to ask you something now. I was going to ask you, I'm going to edit all this, that's oh, that's it. Oh, how do you know it was a 2-bedroom cottage, 2-room cottage? What were the sleeping arrangements then?
Father and mother had a double bed.
In the set, you were all in
one room, all one room. I had what they called a 3/4 bed, and there was another small bed for my brother, and there was a chest of drawers, a chest of drawers and a washstand in the room. There was also a fireplace in that room, and when I was a child and they wanted to listen to something on the radio that they didn't think was fit for my ears or my brother's ears, the fire was lit in the bedroom and we were there.
When did Gwen leave home then?
About a year after my
your mum died.
last stepmother came to look after us.
So you and Gwen would have shared that 3/4 bed?
Yeah, that's why it was the 3/4 bed, because we shared it. Yeah.
Who cleaned and cooked and made the fires?
My stepmother.
Your stepmother. Did you help or anything? Well,
we
you were old
collected
enough.
sticks, and my father chopped the wood and things like that.
And did she make and repair clothes or anything?
He used to repair our shoes.
He did?
Oh yes, he was a good cobbler. He'd always repair our shoes.
What about your mum with the clothes?
Oh, she was good at sewing. Yes, and she used to knit.
And crochet, isn't it?
Yes, I think she crocheted. Yes, she does crochet.
We've got something. Anyway, did you have new or second-hand clothes?
Well, we didn't have new clothes very often. What new clothes we had? I used to have 1 pair of shoes a year.
Yeah.
And, 2 pairs, should I say. 1 pair for Sunday, school, Sunday. And then a really strong pair of shoes, or boots it was at one time, for school. With my father, she used to make my father put studs in the toes and the heels, so they'd last that much longer, and all studs along the bottoms. You know,
What about clothes? You didn't...
She used to make quite a few of those things, but I don't know, we used to have one set of clothes. You didn't, in those days you didn't change that often, do you know what I mean? And I know we weren't dirty.
No.
I suppose we would be dirty compared with what today is.
No.
But I mean, you used to have clean clothes on Sunday, a bath on Sunday night and clean clothes. But those clothes lasted you for the week.
You didn't change after school?
Until, I used to change after school and put old clothes on, yes. You had to. But then you had a special set of clothes for Sunday school, you know what I mean? And you took them off as soon as you came home from Sunday school, and they were put in the wardrobe and things like that.
What sort of things did your father do in the house?
Well, he did all the repairs that needed doing, or any decorating.
Did he wash up or anything?
I don't actually remember him washing up. He used to light the fire every morning and bring the coal in, and
How was the washing of the clothes done?
in an old-fashioned dolly tub, as they call it, you know. This with this three-legged...
You're saying about the dolly pen?
Yeah, they used to put the clothes in this deep tub, see, and they used to, this thing was like a wooden stool with a long handle on and two handles on the top, and you'd turn it like this, and then there was the old washboard, you know, as well, with the tub with the washboard, you know. They used to play them in skiffle groups, you know.
And who did this?
Stephen, yeah.
Your mum?
Yeah.
Did you ever help at all with the water in the cat?
Oh, yeah. Well, there was no water in the house.
No.
So, every time it was wash day, which was a Monday, Sunday night, we used to spend time fetching water from the well. What we used to do is to take the bathtub, which, I mean, you didn't have water in the house, you had a bathtub in front of the fire.
Tin bathtub.
The old tin bath, and a bucket in the hand. So we'd go down with either my father and I, or my stepmother and I. My father most often. And we'd have like the bath between us, full of water, and the bucket in our hand, and carry it up the road. And then we'd fill the water butt by the front door. You know, when it rained, water would go in there, but if it hadn't rained, then you'd fill it up until there was plenty of water for the washing.
It wasn't hot water washing in those days, though.
Well, yes, you had to boil all the water then on the fire, see? You'd boil it in a big tub on the fire, see? Oh, yeah.
Did you have... Yeah, that's nice.
Nowadays it was a case of no hoovers or anything like that. It was a mop, is a bucket, and a floor cloth, and a sweeping brush, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Basically, a duster, and she used to make her own polish. How she did it, don't ask me, but she used to make her own polish somehow. She learnt in service how to make her own polish. And you used to use a stone. I used to have to do that when I got older. A stone to clean the front step.
You had to?
Yeah. And the brass, you used to polish that with... it was something she used to make up. It wasn't brass though anyway. She used to make something up to clean the brass fender and the brass bit by the door. And the brass knocker. And
was there a regular date?
It was Saturday mornings mostly. It was all done. It was clean then for Sunday, because we never did any work on Sundays. Only cooked the Sunday dinner. I mean, we weren't allowed to play ball or anything.
Did you have any special tasks to do?
Cleaning the silver was one of them, and fetching water was another. And when my little brother was small, pushing him in the pram with another. Keep him quiet when my stepmother was baby. And I knew as long as I kept pushing him in his pram, and he was awake, I wouldn't have to go and fetch water. So if I saw him going to sleep, I'd lift his eyeballs up. Lift his eyelids up and wake him up. Or pinch his toes, whichever one.
Did you, I mean, you know when you left school, how old were you?
When I left school,
Yeah.
15. They put it up a few years before I left. It used to be 14. About 2 years before I was due to leave, they put it up to 15.
And you know, the tasks you used to do they increase when you left school?
No, because as soon as I left school, within a fortnight, I'd been sent to work in the hospital as a domestic. I didn't have any choice.
Going back to your father now, what sort of activities did he do? Did he wash you when bath time was and read to you?
Oh, he used to read to us and he'd tell us stories and he'd sing the old songs to us. We used to enjoy that.
Yeah.
He had some good old-fashioned tales to tell, you know.
Do you remember any? No.
Oh, not really. I mean, I've sung many of the songs too that he used to teach us.
Grandfather's clock?
Yes, and the one of us that I told you, the Wendy and
You're
Tracy,
drunk.
had drunk us. Yeah. And we used to sing lots of songs to us.
But never your stepbrother?
Oh no, she didn't.
She didn't have a voice?
She didn't have, she wasn't the sort. No, she didn't have time for life's leisure. Life was a bed of work, I think, for her. Or so she thought.
Your mother was obviously not an easy person to talk to.
Definitely not.
No?
No.
Did she show any sort of affection towards you?
Towards me, no. She hated me, I think.
If you had any worries, well, you obviously couldn't share them then.
No.
How did your parents expect you to behave when they were around? Was it sort
Be
of...
seen and not heard, Joe. With my stepmother, I mean, we weren't allowed to answer back or interrupt in a conversation with anybody. I mean, you just didn't do it.
You weren't allowed to join in at all?
Oh no, good heavens no. And at the table you weren't allowed to talk.
No?
Which when you think of today's values, that when you go out for dinner, you're supposed to converse at the table, is wrong, isn't it?
At meal times, this brings us nicely into meal times now, which I forgot to do. Where did the family have their meals? In this
Well, in the main living room, wasn't it?
living room.
Yes,
Were you all present at every meal time?
Oh yes, we all had our meals together.
Yeah, even breakfast.
Yeah, well, no, not breakfast, because my father used to go to work about 6 o'clock in the morning. He'd get up at 5 and light the fire and then have a cup of tea or whatever he had before he went. I never found that. Because, I mean, he was too early in the morning, whatever he had, you know. And then my brother and I, when we used to get up, we used to have bread and dripping, or my brother used to have what they used to call sops.
Oh, tea, is it?
Tea on bread with milk and sugar on it.
How old is he then?
Well, he was only a little boy, I suppose, about 5. He wasn't very old. And, I mean, that was, the sugar was, you know, always rationed and everything, so, I mean, he used to get it because he was a baby anyway.
Did your mother or father make jams, wines, homebrew pickles, anything?
Oh no, she used to make jam and chutney and pickled onions. Because we had produce from the garden for that, right, you know.
She didn't make any medicine?
She used to
Yes.
And when the hens were laying, she used to do what they called pickled egg. Used to put them in some stuff that would preserve them and keep them for months at a time.
Shelled eggs.
Yeah, the eggs in the shell. Used to do that during the war. I forget what it was called. Something like water glass or something it was called. They used to keep your eggs in that and they would keep them fresh for months. They wouldn't go off. Because a lot of people had to eat dried egg during the war.
Oh.
You know, it was reconstituted and I used to...
How many times a week did you eat meat during the war?
let me think.
Well, not exactly, I mean roughly.
Well, I suppose we ate meat 3 or 4 times a week, but what happened was like you were rationed sort of to a small joint and I think a little piece of offal, as they call it, like liver or something, and she used to have the joint on Sunday and she'd be very economical, and then you'd have a little bit more on Monday with something else, and then she'd mince it and make a shepherd's pie out of it. You see, like that, she was economical. You know, you have to be in those days anyway.
Yeah. And it paid off for you and later, didn't it?
That's right. Marvellous what you can do with a pound of sausages.
And you got rabbit.
Oh yes, my father used to trap rabbits.
He's poaching.
Oh, not really, because he had his own field, you see. There was a field at the back of the house where he used to grow potatoes. Well, in the winter when it was fallow, the rabbits used to be there, so he could trap rabbits there, you know.
But he couldn't keep all of them, is it?
I don't think you were allowed to keep on them. I mean, remember, I was only a small child, you know. But I remember he used to sell them to the rabbit man, and he'd keep some, of course, with rabbit stew and rabbit.
Yeah.
It was beautiful, it was lovely.
Going back to meal times now, did you ever see your mother getting less food than the rest of you? Your stepmother, I mean.
Well, in those days, women tended to give the men the bigger helpings, and myself and my stepmother then would have a smaller portion.
But he wouldn't.
I mean, there was like cheese. You used to get a certain ration of cheese, but I was never given cheese.
No?
Because it was saved for my father, either for his box, his sandwiches, you know.
But you and your mother always had equal portions, or...
Oh, no.
No?
Less, because...
No, I mean you and your mother.
Oh, no, I had less than her as well.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I didn't think it was necessary, you see.
Yeah. And your father obviously had... Did he have extra meals, like late suppers?
Yes, he used to have something before they went to bed. I mean, don't get me wrong, my brother, I think my brother had more than me, but I mean, she'd sneak something extra to him, or they'd give him something. But I used to have a piece of bread, probably with dripping on, and a mug of cocoa, and I hate cocoa to this day. Before I went to bed. I suppose I was better off than a lot of children in that way, food-wise, you know what I mean, then, because we lived in the country.
What was your parents' attitude if you left food uneaten? Or
I wasn't allowed to eat every scrap. There was no leaving anything, no matter what you ate it. If you didn't eat it, it was slammed down your throat.
Were you expected to hold your knife and fork in a certain way?
Oh yes, you'd keep your elbows off the table, your knife and fork in a particular way, and you chewed with your mouth closed, and you didn't talk.
Do you think that...
And you didn't slurp your tea.
Do you think that extended from... Do you think that stemmed from her being in service?
It stemmed from her being brought up in an orphanage.
Oh, yeah.
That's where it stemmed from. She'd had a tough time in an orphanage, and I don't think she knew how not to be tough.
Yeah. When could you leave the table?
Not until everybody had finished, and then you said, please may I leave the table?
Mm.
You said grace before your meal.
Mm. Could you tell me a bit how the meal was served at the table?
Well, it was on the plate ready for you.
It was on the plate, it
Yeah.
wasn't in a dish
Oh
in
no,
the middle.
the only time you had it in a dish was Christmas time.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
To what, Joe?
I'm going to do something now. What kind of people do you think your parents brought you up to be, besides invisible?
What kind of
I
person
mean,
they
with
brought
certain
me to
things.
be? Well, to be polite to people.
Mm.
Respect what I've spoken to.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the way my stepmother treated me, she brought me up to be terribly, terribly cowed, really.
Yeah.
It wasn't until years later that I learned to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
Because of the way she treated me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, I mean, I was not allowed to answer back. I was not allowed to do this. I was not allowed to do that.
Mm.
If I did these things, I was beaten.
Mm.
If I didn't do these things, I was beaten.
But you can laugh about it now.
Oh, but it wasn't funny at the
No.
time. No, it was hard. And I remember walking around sometimes and thinking, why did my mother die now? Why? I wonder if she come back and fetch me.
How old were you when the beating started, do you think? Was it short?
Well, it must have been about just after my brother was born, I think, it started.
About 7 or 8?
When I was 7.
Yeah.
Well, I must have done. Just before I was 7, because, I mean, I showed you that photo of me with a stiff neck.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother was only a few weeks old when that photo was taken.
Yeah.
I mean, she'd beaten me then so hard that my neck was on one side.
I wish I could
That a stiff neck.
So, have you got an example of when she beat you? I think you... The sandwiches you threw
Oh yes, during the war, that was when
in school.
the food was rationed and I was fed up with these having these syrup sandwiches. I mean, if you ever tried syrup sandwiches, taking them to school and then about 12 o'clock you'd have your lunch and you'd take these sandwiches out of your box and they'd just be one lump because the syrup would have soaked right through it. So what I did on the way home, I couldn't eat them. I threw them over the hedge. And some telltale tit went and told. I had the biggest beating of my life. Well, not one of the biggest beatings of my life, shall I say.
Well, what she used to beat you with then?
A walking stick, anything to hand, a hairbrush. She bit me. She cut my... When everybody in school was being affected with lice, I mean... the other children's mothers treated their hair with Durback soap and Lysol or something, but no, my mother shaved my head. I was bald as a cute. I had a tam wearing to school for about a month, 6 weeks.
A tam is a
Yeah, a black berry over my head, pulled right down, you know, to hide it. I must have looked a queer sight. And then the nurse came to school one day, and the bitch ripped it straight off. Oh, I remember being upset. Oh, I'd never forgive the old bitch.
You still talk to another. Anyway. Would you say that you received the... Just less in this room, I'm trying to ask you a question. This one. Bottom line.
It's about how to behave in both of them, but just one more. Oh,
And did you carry on some of the ideas from...
yeah, I mean, if you think about it, learning how to eat properly and having good manners and things was one good thing that she gave me, if you like.
Yeah.
But the way she gave it to me was the same, wasn't it?
No.
I mean, and my father taught me to be kind to people and gentle. Because he was a gentleman. He wasn't... I don't think he had a nasty bone in his body. I only remember having a smack with him once in my life.
And what was that for?
I can't even remember what it was for. But it was under her instigation for something, I remember that. Because he just didn't hit. Well, I suppose he knew we'd been hit enough, I'd been hit enough by her.
And he could, well, not
Well,
like...
he wasn't there, see, when she was doing it half the time. I mean, she'd go, you were talking about shopping just now. There was one local shop, but she didn't like the people who ran it. See? So she used to go across to Neyland to shop, which was about 4 miles away, and you used to have to walk down to the ferry and cross over on this rowing boat to Neyland, and well, she'd be gone for most of the day. So what she used to do was lock the doors, put me outside, and leave the shed door open, so if it was raining I'd go in the shed. Like the dog, and nowadays you do.
You were never allowed to go with them then?
I remember going twice or 3 times, very rare occurrence for me to go.
And did you enjoy them?
Not particularly. But somebody reported her then, see, for this, to the RSPCA.
CP.
RSPCC.
C.
Yes, the C, children. And he came and he asked her about this business of locking me out. And she said, oh, I can't trust them in the house or anything. And she was gone, and she's quite warm in the shed. And of course he was asking me, but I mean, she was there, what was I going to say? I couldn't say she beats me and hits me and all the rest of it. But then another time, she was biting me and pinching me, scramming. So when I used to go to school, you see, I'd say to her, look where my mother or my stepmother bit me this one night, showing the teeth marks, and scrams and all the rest of it, And eventually somebody must have reported her again, because the nurse came to school and examined me again. So they called on her again, and after that, she didn't bite me so much. She hit me with a walking stick a bit more. She marked. She didn't let the teeth show, because I mean that was a dead giveaway, wasn't it?
When you had a birthday, would it be different from any other day?
Well, I probably would get a card, I think. I can remember having a card once, anyway. So I probably had a birthday card, but that's about the only difference.
You didn't get any presents or anything special one day? That's one less beating.
Two to remember it was the
Did you have any musical instruments? No. Stop it. Good luck to stop. Right.
No, I didn't have any musical instruments, Joe. Well, my father used to play the paper and comb, no? Yeah, I was quite good at that. I forgot about that.
Did he used to sing to you?
Yes, we used to have singing
I've
songs.
said
That was
this
nice.
before, yeah. When did you have these sing songs? Any time or
Oh,
on special
sometimes
occasions?
usually when my stepmother was out of the house or in a good mood or something, we'd have a little sing song.
She never used to join in with me. She would clap her hands perhaps.
No, she used to just look.
Yeah.
And very rare she joined in. And I used to love singing because I used to sing in Sunday school and things like that.
Mm. You tell me you had lots of books in the house.
Well, yes, the reason why, because I used to have books for Christmas and my father was an avid reader, so there were quite a lot of books on top. But it's marvellous really, because he left school at 11 and he loved reading and he could write, which is excellent when you think about it. He learned to read and write, and because his mother died when his brother was a baby, and him and his twin sister had to practically bring their younger brothers and sisters up. My father was the oldest of 7 children, so. And the mother died when the youngest was a baby. So
your father brought up?
he brought up his brothers and sisters. But when, I didn't know until last year sometimes that, in fact, my father's youngest brother lived with my mother and father when they got married and everything. And it was only when my stepmother married him that my father's youngest brother moved out. Because she was such a cow.
So, did your father play any games with you? I won't ask you about your mother.
Ludo and snakes and ladders. We used to love having a game there. And, you know, things like that. Because, I mean, those were more or less the sort of games you played in those days.
Yeah. And what about newspapers and magazines? Did you have any of those in the house?
Yeah, my father used to have the Daily Express. And The Wizard. He used to read that. I don't know whether he had for comic or the light relief or something, but I used to read it. I knew all about Roy of the Rovers. And of course I used to, when I was 9 or something, I started doing a paper on it. Well, delivering the papers for the local shop.
How much do you get?
I used to get 3 pence a week off each person I delivered the papers to. But I was fair enough because I used to read them all first. I used to sit down there and I'd read the picture post and I'd read all the comics that everybody else was having and that I couldn't have. Oh dear.
And what did you spend your pocket money on?
I wasn't allowed to keep it. I had to hand that over. That used to go into the mother's kitchen.
What about at Christmas?
Well, I used to go carol singing at Christmas and things like that, but I used to have to hand that over as well. And if people give me money, that was taken off me. Never allowed to keep money.
Never?
No. If somebody gave me something like handkerchiefs or something like that, well, I mean, there was no value to it, was it? And very often they learnt in the end not to give me money, because they knew I didn't get it. But life was hard.
Okay.
That was hard. Wasn't it? Yeah, but I mean, before that started, then you should ask about it to going away. Because after I came back from Liverpool, we started doing the fighting.
Yeah. Well, tell me about, you were sent away during the war, weren't you?
Yes, in 1942.
And where were
All
you
the
sent?
children were being evacuated from the big cities down to the villages in the country, and I was evacuated to the big city.
To Liverpool?
To Liverpool.
Yeah.
She took me with her up to this person who had adopted one of her brothers, and we called her Grandma.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be for a holiday,
Yeah.
for a fortnight. But when the time came to go back, she went back with my little brother, and she left me behind.
Mm.
She didn't ask me whether I wanted to stay. I was left.
Mm.
And I stayed for a whole year. I went to school there. And basically I was quite happy there. I didn't get beaten.
Mm.
It was 1 year I was free of being beaten.
Mm.
You have to do work and everything. I used to have to carry laundry. This grandmother, as I call her, used to take in laundry and do people's washing. Used to have to carry the washing back, ironed and everything. Turn the mangle, which was a huge wooden mangle. Put the sheets through the mangle and everything. To do that. I ran errands and things, but it was a year, really, a good year.
I was happier.
It was much happier than the rest of the time was, I can tell you. She wasn't nasty like the right stepmother was. And there was two young women living in the house, and they were working in the factories and things, and they were kind because I was only a kid. They were very kind. They used to give me little things and take me to the cinema. I used to go to the cinema every Saturday morning to see all the films. Yes. Didn't matter about the bombers coming over at night or anything. Good God, what was that? There was nothing. As long as you went to see the Saturday morning flicks. But it was,
what sort of house do you live in when you were in Liverpool?
oh, it was a terrace house, three bedrooms, and 2 rooms and a kitchen downstairs. Yeah.
Did you have a room to yourself, or did you share?
Yes, I had a little box room. I was living in a little box room on my own. Yeah. And my grandfather, as we called him, was an ARP warden. Area patrol. He used to go out, like to make sure people had their blinds drawn and everything like that.
Was that, tell me about that coffin in the parlour.
Oh yes, well, a couple of months after I'd been there, apparently my real grandfather, my mother's father, had been in hospital ill, and he died. And as he lived with these people, his body was brought back to the house. And he was in his coffin in the front parlour, as they call it. And this woman, this grandmother, she used to deal in the black market, she used to sell butter and sugar and everything like that. And during this time his coffin was in the parlour, she asked me to go in and get this butter for her. And she said it's in the drawer under the table which the coffin's on.
Did you go?
I had to. I was in and out of there like a streak of melted butter. Oh dear, waiting for the hand of doom to grab me. Because the coffin was open, see. We used to see the coffin open. It was the only time I'd ever seen it.
What did he look like?
Dead.
How else do you know that she was dealing in that black market?
Oh, people used to come to the house and she used to lend money to people. She was obviously a money lender as well, and she probably got it back at terrific interest. And years later, my sister told me she was.
How did you see? Oh, your sister spent 2 years after.
Yeah, well, when she brought me back after a year, she took my sister up with her and left her there for 2 years. Well, the war was over then by the time my sister came back.
Did you ever spend much time with your sister after your mother died?
Very little time. Very little time, only in the odd occasions.
Where did she go to live?
Well, she went to live with my father's sister. Because my stepmother was nasty to her. And then when...
She was asthmatic, wasn't she?
She was very asthmatic. We were both asthmatic. My father was asthmatic, but she was very asthmatic. And It just wasn't good for it to be used like that.
Mm.
So that was it.
Where was it again? Your father's sister lived in Neyland?
No, Hill Mountain. She lived up the road, you know, like we lived in Burton and then it was like 3 miles to the school or 2.5 miles to school.
Yeah.
And then just another mile up the mountain, up the hill then sort of to another village, and that's where my father's sister used to live.
And
With their
did you
husband.
see Gwen in school?
We used to meet in school, yes.
Mm.
Yes, but we weren't as close as sisters should be, really, because we didn't live together, actually. We used to, when we used to see each other in school, we used to tell each other what had happened, and I'd tell her how many beatings I'd had. Oh, dear.
So she went up to Liverpool after you came back then?
Yeah.
And she never went back to your father's sister then?
No, because my father's sister wouldn't take her back then, because she'd been taken from her.
Oh.
She was quite happy to have her there, and Gwen was happy there.
Yeah.
So she went to live with my other auntie then.
Did you have any holidays?
Not other than the one I went to as an evacuator of Liverpool.
Oh. What about outings?
Yeah, well, as I went to Sunday school, I used to go on the Sunday school trip each year.
Yeah.
To Tenby, usually.
To Tenby.
Yeah, Charabang to Tenby, which was a blooming lovely thing. I nearly drowned there once, but that's beside the point. It was still a lovely day out. Drowned or not.
How long did it take you to travel from Hartford west to Tenby?
Those days. Must have been about 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Must have been, yeah. But it was lovely. And then we used to go once a year to the... After my father had sold his crop of potatoes and everything, he used to save some of the money, and he used to give us outing to the fair, Portfield Fair in Hartford. It was the highlight of the year.
Was it October there?
5th of October. I think we have to stop.